All right, let's talk about first drafts because I've been learning a lot of about first drafts lately because that's mostly what I do. So I've talked a little bit about how I make outlines. That's been a game changer. But the big thing I'm learning about first drafts is that uh, writing something is better than not writing anything, which sounds absurdly obvious, but I think for a lot of us who like to write, it's actually very difficult. And there's this phenomenon of you look at the blank page and there's nothing. There's nothing you can think of to write, and it's terrifying to feel that feeling because you have this idea that you want to get down on paper, but you want to. At least for me, it's like okay, I'm gonna write, and I have this idea of where I think it'll go, and so what's the best way to start that? Maybe I could start it this way, or maybe I could. But in all this thinking, I'm not actually writing, right? And that's the problem for so many people. And so what I've started doing is like with an outline, I know what needs to happen in the scene, right? I know where it needs to take me, and I just sit down and I give it a go. And if I don't let myself think this is going to be a final draft, I force myself to think this might get deleted. This might not make the final cut at all. And the place I've been feeling this most acutely lately is with the novel I recently finished a second draft of. The ending, I just can't quite figure out. Like the climax of the action happens, the journey or the quest or whatever you want to call it is accomplished. They're successful, but I just want a little denouement, a denouement. I don't know French, but where like an epilogue sort of thing, where it's like we know they succeeded in their quest. I want you to know that they got home safely afterward, and we're happy that they succeeded in their quest, right? And it just needs to be a little thing, but it's the last thing. If someone reads this book, it's the last thing they're going to read. It's what I'm going to leave them with, so I want it to be really good. And for a long time, I just struggled and couldn't write anything, and then I decided, you know what? I'm going to try something, and I wrote something, and I didn't like it, so I deleted it, and I wrote something else. And I didn't really like that either, so I deleted it and wrote something else. I'm now in my fourth version of the ending, but what's interesting is that each time I write that ending, I learn something, and there's some little piece of it that works, that makes me think, aha, that's the feeling I'm going for, but the setting is wrong. Or this is a great setting, but the dialogue is all wrong. Or like the dialogue is right. And I figure if I write enough endings, I can eventually pull them together into something that really works. And so as I'm writing this short story, I've finished a draft of it. It is, I think I said in one of these episodes, I thought it was going to be a 10,000 word story. It's 9,937 words. So bravo, Kyle, you can predict word count. I don't know if that's a good skill or not. But as I wrote it, I would put a scene in and be like, I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not, but I need enough here that I can carve out a final draft, right? That's how I think of the first draft. The first draft, if you want to compare writing something to sculpting something, which I've never done before, then the first draft is not when you're sculpting. The first draft is when you are like, in the quarry pulling out the cube of marble that you're going to turn into a statue, right? Or it's when you're at your pottery wheel and you're just putting clay in a pile in the middle of the wheel, right? You're just getting the stuff together that you're going to turn into a piece of art. But it's not art yet, and it's not beautiful, and you want it to be good quality materials, but in the end, most of it's going to be cut away anyway. So if you have some imperfections there, if you have some gross little things that are not going to keep, but help you get enough piled up that you can carve out your final draft, then you're on the right track with your first draft. And so when I sit down to write something now, I sit down with the intention of writing something bad, and being okay with it, because what I need is there to be something there. Once it exists, I can edit it, I can revise it, I can replace it, I can remove it, I can reshuffle it, I can do all kinds of things to make it better. But until the words are on the page, I can't do anything, and my novel or my short story will never exist. So the process I'm working on developing now, and I can't really call it a process because I am a not quite novelist. I'm in the process of doing this really for the first serious time. But I think my process, when I have a process, will be write an outline, spend some time on it, get it right, and then just sit down and write a first draft without really caring if it's good or bad. Just write as much as possible, hit the bullet points on the outline as well as possible, and then you have this mound of stuff you're going to carve into a story that is worth reading. So that's my thought on first drafts, and I hope that's helpful.